Deep winter, 207 BC. Outside Hangu Pass, the impregnable gateway that commands the world, flags blot out the sky like heavy clouds. Since the state of Qin unified the realm, never has such a magnificent and terrifying force been seen outside these walls. This army marches under a kaleidoscope of banners. In the dead center, most conspicuous of all, is the Chu army's flag, red as raging fire. Embroidered upon it in gold thread is the intricate bird and worm script, the character Chu. Flanking the Chu banner are the deep blue formations of the Zhao army and the purple phalanxes of the Qi army. The character Zhao on their standards is written in the ancient script of the Central Plains Jin lineage, sharp, slender, and angular, looking as if it were freshly ground from the swords and blades of the chaotic warring states era. Alongside them, the banners of Yan, Wei, and other divisions fly high, each bearing the script of a nation that had already been declared dead. Those ancient symbols, buried by imperial Qin law for 15 years, have all resurrected in this biting winter wind. They are colorful, distinct, perhaps even strangers to one another, but in this moment they have converged into an angry, multicolored tidal wave. Carrying the arrogance of the old world and a thirst for vengeance, they roar at the gates of the Qin Empire. But the flag flying over Hangu Pass itself was a curious sight. While the black banners of Qin soldiers still lined the walls, a single red Chu flag now flew from the main tower. The pass was already under the command of a Chu general, Liu Bang, and yet its gates were sealed shut. War drums thunder. Xiang Yu, the supreme general of the feudal lords, fresh from his godlike victory at the Battle of Julu, is enraged. He orders his fiercest general, Ying Bu, the champion of the three armies, to launch a direct assault. Hangu Pass is breached. Xiang Yu leads 400,000 coalition troops in a mighty procession into the Guanzhong plain. They arrive at the open fields of the Xi River, set up camp, and sharpen their weapons, preparing to lunge west toward the capital, Xianyang. Meanwhile, Liu Bang's army of 100,000, having already sealed the treasuries and evacuated Xianyang, is camped southwest of the city at Bashang. This is a strategic high ground, commanding a view of the main roads from both Hangu Pass in the east and Wu Pass in the south. Upon hearing the news that Hangu Pass has fallen, Liu Bang's camp burns its torches all night, frantically preparing for battle. A clash of titans is imminent.
Hello and welcome back to China Puzzle. I'm ZYQ. The scene you just witnessed is the prelude to the feast at Hong Gate. This is the story of a political dinner party that almost plunged China into a permanent state of division. According to the history books, what happened next is a tale known to every school child in China. Xiang Yu's subfather and chief advisor Fan Zheng urged him to host a banquet and assassinate Liu Bang. At the feast, Xiang Yu hesitated. Fan Zheng sent a swordsman to perform a dance, hoping to kill Liu Bang in the confusion, but Xiang Yu's own uncle blocked the assassin. In this moment of crisis, Liu Bang's fiercest general, Fan Kuai, burst in and accused Xiang Yu of breaking their king's promise. Shamed, Xiang Yu relented, and Liu Bang escaped. Fan Zheng was left to lament, "This naive boy is not fit to plot with." This has been the standard narrative for over 2,000 years, but the truth is, this event and what followed is so filled with bizarre twists and contradictions that it has become one of the greatest political mysteries in Chinese history. Why didn't Xiang Yu kill Liu Bang? The intricate plotting and political genius behind it are as thrilling as any modern political drama. So, let's peel back the layers and uncover the truth behind the history books.
First, we must clarify the composition and status of these two armies. Liu Bang's force was said to be 100,000 strong, but it was a motley crew. Only a small core were his loyal followers from the beginning. The rest were absorbed during his march west, including a large contingent of surrendered Qin soldiers. More importantly, of the 20-odd battles Liu Bang fought on his way west, the vast majority occurred in the early stages. Since taking Nanyang and through the capture of Wu Pass and Lantian, his victories were largely won through coaxing and trickery. This force had not experienced many bloody, hard-fought battles. Xiang Yu's 400,000-man coalition was completely different. The Chu army led by Xiang Yu was originally 50,000 elites. Although they suffered losses after the Battle of Julu, the remaining core was bolstered by the armies of Zhao, Yan, Wei, and Han, as well as some Qi troops who had secretly come behind their monarch's back, and a small number of Qin defectors. Since Julu, over the course of a year, they had fought bloody battle after bloody battle. They had experienced massive conflicts of human nature, like the massacre of surrendered troops at Xin'an. Finally, they breached Hangu Pass. Everyone in this army was bloodthirsty. A lust for slaughter emboldened them to destroy any obstacle in their path. Militarily, the outcome was clear. Xiang Yu would crush Liu Bang. At this moment, a character enters the stage who has been misunderstood, intentionally or unintentionally, by history books and later interpretations. Fan Zeng. Traditional interpretation says Fan Zeng was Xiang Yu's sub-father, Yafu, and his most important strategist. But in fact, if you search through all historical texts, nowhere does it state that Fan Zeng was Xiang Yu's Yafu. He was a sub-father, but not Xiang Yu's. Most likely he was the sub-father of King of Chu. This explains why, in the biographies of Liu Bang, Zhang Liang, and Chen Ping, he is referred to separately as sub-father and listed distinctly from Xiang Yu. Historical records state that it was the 70-year-old Fan Zeng who persuaded Xiang Liang to enthrone Xiongxin, who was living in exile among the common people, as the new king of Chu. When King of Chu sent 50,000 elites to rescue Julu, the commander-in-chief was Song Yi, the vice-commander was Xiang Yu, and the rear commander was Fan Zeng. Before this, there is no record of Fan Zeng fighting alongside Xiang Liang or Xiang Yu. Therefore, the greatest probability is that Fan Zeng was serving as the supervisor of the Chu army in his capacity as the king's Yafu. It was only because the commander-in-chief, Song Yi, hesitated and missed the opportunity for battle that Fan Zeng reached a consensus with Xiang Yu, supporting Xiang Yu in seizing military command. This leads us to the judgment of a second character, King Huai of Chu, Xiongxin. According to later interpretations, he was a puppet pushed onto the throne by coincidence, a shepherd boy who knew nothing. But a closer reading of the sources reveals a different picture. He was a legitimate royal descendant, and his time as a shepherd was likely a disguise to survive. His subsequent actions show him to be a politically savvy and talented ruler. After Xiang Yu's uncle was killed in battle, it was the king of Chu who stepped into the leadership vacuum. He moved the capital from a corner in the southeast to Pengcheng and immediately seized the opportunity to absorb Xiang Liang's remnants and other Chu forces. Afterward, with the support of the old Chu aristocracy, he rebuilt the Chu army, withstood the most difficult moment of the anti-Qin cause, and was even able to spare extra troops for Wei Bao to recover the state of Wei. Through these operations, he ceased to be a mascot found in the countryside and became the true lord of the anti-Qin alliance. This is why the king of Zhao repeatedly sent envoys begging him for help when besieged at Julu, because at this time, Xiongxin was the real leader of the rebel forces. And what of Xiang Yu? A misunderstanding must be clarified here. Perhaps Xiang Yu was indeed the most formidable general under Xiang Liang, but he was not Xiang Liang's son, nor did he possess an inherent right to lead the Xiang clan. Before the Battle of Julu, in the eyes of many anti-Qin generals, he was just a young general of the Xiang family who had won some battles alongside Liu Bang of Pei County, and his uncle's army no longer existed. Like Liu Bang, he could only listen to the arrangements of the king of Chu. It was at this time that King of Chu made the important decision to divide his forces to attack Qin. In fact, the real division was into three routes. Besides Song Yi in the north and Liu Bang in the west, there was a southern route led by another Chu general, Gong Ao, to recover lost Chu territory. Xiang Yu wanted to lead troops west but was vetoed, only allowed to be the vice commander of the northern army. So, at least at this moment, Xiongxin still held the political advantage of absolute authority.
But what neither Xiongxin nor Fan Zeng expected was that Xiang Yu would unleash enormous energy at the Battle of Julu. With one successful battle, he became the de facto supreme general of the feudal lords. So, when Xiang Yu led the 400,000-strong coalition into the pass, a massive crisis and question was placed before the king of Chu and his Yafu. How do we distribute the rewards?
The Guanzhong Plain and Pengcheng are 1,000 kilometers apart. Instant communication was impossible. In this urgent situation, Fanzeng devised a venomous plan. He stated to Xiang Yu that Liu Bang, as a Chu general, had committed 3 unforgivable crimes. First, Liu Bang unauthorizedly absorbed the troops of the Chu general Cai Wu. This was a dangerous signal of becoming a warlord. Second, to prevent other feudal lords from entering the pass, Liu Bang set a fire at the Yellow River crossing of Pinyin, destroying boats and bridges. Third, blockading Hangu Pass. This directly exposed Liu Bang's ambition to monopolize the credit for destroying Qin and to carve out a kingdom for himself. Fanzeng's voice echoed in the tent. When the Lord of Pei resided in the east, he was greedy for wealth and loved beautiful women. Now that he has entered the pass, he takes no wealth and touches no women. This shows his ambition is not small. Strike him quickly, do not lose this chance. These words sound righteous, as if to remove a future threat for Xiang Yu. But this is an exquisite 2 birds with 1 stone strategy. If Xiang Yu killed Liu Bang, who also had merit in fighting Qin, without authorization from the king of Chu, using ambition as an excuse, he would instantly lose the immense political and moral advantage he gained after the Battle of Julu. Even the massacre of prisoners at Qian might be dug up for criticism. Fanzeng did not want to see Xiang Yu possess a stable, united coalition of warlords. Only if Xiang Yu killed Liu Bang would Xiang Yu bear the infamy of injustice. This was a trap set by a political veteran for a young warlord. Xiang Yu agreed. The 400,000 troops seemed ready to march immediately to attack Liu Bang. However, what Fanzeng did not know was that in the deep of the night, Xiang Yu's uncle, Xiang Bo, secretly left the main camp and hurried to Bashang. Sima, in recording this section, explains that Xiang Bo was an old acquaintance of Zhang Liang and went to persuade Zhang Liang to escape. Instead, Zhang Liang persuaded him to meet Liu Bang, revealed Xiang Yu and Fanzeng's plan entirely, and begged Xiang Bo to mediate. Xiang Bo hesitated again and again, then agreed. A pure flash of humanity and the warmth of kindness. Is that really the truth? Let us follow the historical text and look for clues in the details. First, the seating. According to the records, Liu Bang brought Zhang Liang, Fan Kuai, and over 100 others to Xiang Yu's camp to apologize. Inside the tent at Hong Gate, Yafu sat facing south. Fanzeng sat in the position of honor, facing south. This contradicts the traditional narrative that Fanzeng was Xiang Yu's advisor, a subordinate. But it makes perfect sense if we understand Fanzeng as the representative of the king of Chu. Liu Bang sat facing north, facing Fanzeng, awaiting judgment. Xiang Yu and Xiang Bo sat side by side in the west. Zhang Liang, as the least important guest, sat in the east. You see? Who is the master? Who is the servant? Who is the decision-maker? It finally becomes clear. In China, where etiquette is paramount, seating is the absolute embodiment of hierarchy. Sima Qian's detailed record of the seating is, in fact, an inadvertent revelation of the truth. Second, the content. None of the historical materials record specifically what was discussed at this banquet. The annals of Xiang Yu only record that Fanzeng repeatedly signaled Xiang Yu to act, but Xiang Yu turned a deaf ear. Fanzeng had to call in Xiang Zhuang to perform a sword dance, only for it to be blocked by Xiang Bo using his own body, a dramatic process. Perhaps during this process, Fanzeng gradually realized the cold truth. Xiang Yu and Liu Bang had already reached a political agreement. This banquet was merely a performance for him. Despite the forest of soldiers inside and outside the tent, without Xiang Yu's order, he, the sub-father, could not move anyone. So when Liu Bang escaped and sent Zhang Liang to present gifts and bid farewell, Xiang Yu silently accepted the gift, but Fanzeng angrily shouted, "This boy is not worth plotting with." He was more than disappointed. He was furious. because he discovered that the beast he had unleashed had broken free of his control. Third, the aftermath. In Sima Qian's narrative, Fanzheng fell out of favor with Xiang Yu from then on. Later, Liu Bang used a conspiracy, causing Xiang Yu to mistrust Fanzheng even more, forcing Fanzheng to retire. Actually, according to our logic, it was inevitable that Fanzheng, representing the king's interests, would become incompatible with Xiang Yu. This explains why the Liu Bang's conspiracy recorded in history was as clumsy as child's play, yet Xiang Yu still fell for it, because it was actually just a pretext for Xiang Yu to expel Fanzheng. And Xiangbo, in historical records, his future is clear. He later secured the rich land of Hanzhong for Liu Bang during the distribution of territories. Even during the Chu-Han contention, he remained an important intermediary for peace talks and the return of Liu Bang's family. He had always been the spokesman for political diplomacy beneath Xiang Yu's warlord exterior. For these deeds, after the Han dynasty was established, Xiangbo was even granted the imperial surname and a marquisate.
In contrast, the account of this political banquet in Liu Bang's biography is far less dramatic. Happened that Xiangbo wanted to save Zhang Liang, went at night to see Liang, and used this to enlighten Xiang Yu, so Xiang Yu stopped. The Lord of Pei went to Hong Gate, saw and apologized to Xiang Yu. You see, it is written quite plainly. The two sides had already settled it the night before. Xiang Yu had already stopped. There was no longer a military necessity. Liu Bang's Hong Gate banquet was just a political formality. How could Xiang Yu possibly take the initiative to kill Liu Bang at such a moment? So, the next question is crucial. What agreement did Liu Bang and Xiang Yu reach?
Historical records state that a few days after the Hong Gate banquet, Xiang Yu led his troops west, entered Xianyang, killed the surrendered Qin king Ziying, and allowed his soldiers to burn, kill, and loot. The fire in Xianyang burned for 3 months without ceasing. In the traditional narrative, this is presented as an act of pure, brutish vengeance. Xiang Yu, the aristocrat of Chu, finally getting his revenge on the state that destroyed his homeland. It's seen as proof of his impulsive, cruel, and cunning nature. But let's analyze the political motives behind this seemingly senseless act of destruction. During Liu Bang's apology to Xiang Yu, one sentence is key. "When I entered the pass, I dared not touch a single hair. I registered the officials and people, sealed the treasuries, and awaited you. The reason I sent generals to guard the pass was to prepare against the others and emergencies." The meaning of this sentence could not be clearer. He wasn't guarding against Xiang Yu, he was guarding against others. Although I, Liu Bang, entered Guanzhong first, I dare not taste the fruit of victory, Xianyang, alone. I offer it intact to you, and only to you, no one else. This was the prerequisite for Liu Bang and Xiang Yu to reach a consensus. Liu Bang voluntarily gave up the fat meat that was Xianyang. After obtaining the right to dispose of Xianyang, Xiang Yu went a step further and killed the Qin king Ziying. In this way, the achievement of destroying Qin no longer belonged to Liu Bang. He merely entered the pass first. Regarding the king of Chu's covenant that whoever is the first to enter and conquer Guanzhong will be king, Xiang Yu became the one who conquered Guanzhong. At this time, Xiang Yu might still have been dreaming of becoming the king of Guanzhong. After all, when he saw Qin Shi Huang on patrol as a young man, he blurted out, "I can replace him." But the king of Chu's reply consisted of only 2 words, "as agreed." This meant the king of Chu did not recognize the agreement reached between Xiang Yu and Liu Bang. He insisted on following his own covenant, enfeoffing Liu Bang, who entered first, as king of Guanzhong. The most critical point here was not who got the precious land of Guanzhong, but that King of Chu used this reply to clearly state, "I am the leader of the anti-Qin alliance. My will must be executed without compromise. No matter how great your merit, Xiang Yu, you are just a Chu general and must obey the king's decree." Therefore, Xiang Yu had no other path. To realize his political ambition, he had only one option left: rebellion. Rebellion relies on strength and people's hearts. In terms of strength, Xiang Yu was currently the supreme general. The 400,000 coalition troops entering the pass, plus Liu Bang's 100,000 Chu troops, all listened to his command. Liu Bang had been subdued and at least dared not act rashly. What about the 400,000 coalition troops? A thought-provoking fact is that although the coalition gathered armies from the 6 states of Chu, Han, Zhao, Yan, Wei, and Qi, only Wei King Bao led his troops personally. The rest were led by generals. Even the Qi army was a rebel army that came secretly, disobeying the orders of Tianrong, who controlled Qi. Facing these generals who had fought bloody battles with him from Julu to Tianyang and witnessed his unmatched military ability, Xiang Yu spoke a crucial passage. "I wore armor and held sharp weapons to start this cause, exposing myself to the wild for 3 years. The destruction of Qin and the pacification of the world is due to the efforts of you generals and myself. We should divide the land and become kings." How did the generals answer? One word: good. But rebellion is not a dinner party. Fighting requires the stimulation of money. Although there was the promise of dividing land and becoming kings, that was still a blank check not yet cashed. These coalition troops, who had killed their way here, were like wild wolves urgently needing a reward. The mountains of treasure in Xianyang were the best, and the only reward Xiang Yu could offer to stimulate them. So, from the history books, it looks like Xiang Yu acted like an impulsive idiot, unleashing his troops to burn and loot Jianyang, with the fire burning for 3 months. The people of Qin were greatly disappointed, daring to be angry but not to speak. We have no way of knowing if Liu Bang's army participated in the looting of Xianyang, but we believe that as he watched the sky-high flames of Xianyang, Liu Bang must have broken out in a cold sweat. Given Xiang Yu's ruthlessness, if he hadn't gone to Honggate to apologize, if there hadn't been that dinner, but instead he had chosen to stand between Xianyang and Xiang Yu, he would have been reduced to ashes long ago.
The soaring flames of Xianyang did not actually burn down the Qin Empire. The Qin Empire had already died when Ziying knelt by the roadside. What the fire of Xianyang burned was the restoration movement led by the old aristocracy of the 6 states. This movement seemed successful, but it did not meet the demands of the military meritocracy led by Xiang Yu. So, how would Xiang Yu arrange the world next?
In early 206 BC, in the camp at Xizia, Xiang Yu presided over the division of the world. In many people's impressions, this is a chaotic puzzle, as if Xiang Yu just arbitrarily chopped up the land and gave it to his subordinates. But if you put on the glasses of geopolitics and carefully examine the boundaries of this map, you will feel a deep shock. Because what you see is not chaos, but a carefully designed, extremely complex political distribution. This was the last attempt in Chinese history to resurrect the Zhou dynasty system. It was also Xiang Yu's most thorough and resolute negation of Qin Shi Huang's concept of great unification. Let us dismantle these so-called 18 feudal lords one by one. Layer 1. The Overlord and West Chu, the birth of the international police. First, at the absolute core of this system, is the title Xiang Yu bestowed upon himself. Overlord of West Chu, Chichuba Wang. Please note the weight of these 4 words. Why didn't he call himself emperor? Because in the values of Xiang Yu, a descendant of Chu nobility, the word emperor was dirty. It represented the totalitarian tyranny of Qin Shi Huang, who swallowed the 6 states, abolished feudalism, and turned the world into private property. Xiang Yu did not want to be a dictator like Qin Shi Huang, but an overlord like Duke Huan of Qi or Duke Wen of Jin during the spring and autumn period. What is an overlord? An overlord is not an administrative chief. An overlord is an order maintainer. I don't directly rule your lands, I don't collect your taxes, but I am the head of the feudal lords. Whoever breaks the rules, whoever disrespects the royal family, I will strike them. Xiang Yu attempted to establish a federal military empire. To support this status as international police, he carved out the richest territory for himself, West Chu. This territory included the 9 commanderies of Liang and Chu, with the capital at Pengcheng, modern-day Chuzhou, This area possessed overwhelming strategic advantages at the time. It controlled the Huai River basin and the alluvial plains of the lower Yangtze, the economic center. To the north, it could control Qi and Zhao. To the west, it could guard the central plains. Xiang Yu's calculation was precise. I possess the strongest economic base and the most elite army, while you 18 lords govern yourselves autonomously outside. If anyone dares to rebel, my West Chu army will march out to enforce the law. Layer 2, the State of Brotherhood, the Han King. If you open the records of the Grand Historian, you will see Liu Bang weeping bitterly when accepting the title of King of Han, as if he were being exiled to a hell at the end of the world. But for scholars who research deeply, you will find this is baffling political showmanship. Let's zoom in on the map and see what Xiang Yu actually gave Liu Bang. Traditional view holds that Bashu, Sichuan, was a barbaric land. But in 206 BC, this was a massive lie. In fact, Bashu had been the Qin Empire's supergranary for 100 years. It had fertile plains irrigated by the Dujiangyan system, armories operated by Qin for a century, and natural barriers of surrounding mountains that were almost impossible to breach from the outside. More importantly, through prior political negotiation and through Xiangbo, Liu Bang successfully requested Hanzhong from Xiang Yu. This was a fatal strategic detail. If he only had Bashu, Liu Bang would be a tiger in a cage. But with Hanzhong, Liu Bang was a beast possessing an entire logistics base and holding the key to open the door to Guanzhong. Let's imagine the scenario. A battle-hardened warlord receives a territory including today's Sichuan, Chongqing, and southern Shanxi, while the so-called Guanzhong area meant to suppress him is divided into 3 small states controlled by traitorous generals. Is this punishment, or is it a reward? Let me add one more point. From Liu Bang onwards, throughout all dynasties, no one ever dared to place Hanzhong and Sichuan, 2 geographically connected units, under a single administrative division again. Because as long as one possesses both places simultaneously, one can pose a massive threat to the Guanzhong region and the middle and lower reaches of the Yangtze. This geographical advantage explains 2 pivotal moments in later Chinese history. It is precisely from here that the great strategist Zhuge Liang would later launch his famous northern expeditions during the Three Kingdoms period. And it is also why, during the catastrophic An Lushan rebellion, the Tang dynasty was ultimately able to reconquer their lost capital, using Ba, Shu, and Hanzhong as their unbreachable fortress. Here, like Guanzhong itself, was a land where kings arise. So this is the real agreement Liu Bang and Xiang Yu reached. Liu Bang gave up the hot potato of the empty title King of Guanzhong, which would have made him a public enemy, in exchange for the King of Han, a real territory with infinite war potential. What Xiang Yu gave him was not a place of exile, but the second most powerful feudal state on the map of China at that time. This was not punishment, this was appeasement. This was a huge hush money payment Xiang Yu paid to keep this powerful ally quiet. Readers of later history actually overlook one premise. Before Xiangliang died in battle, Liu Bang and Xiang Yu were brothers who lived and died together on the battlefield, participating jointly in almost all of the Chu army's battles against Qin. Before Liu Bang fought his way back to Guanzhong, there was no life or death struggle between them. Instead, there was a deep camaraderie. That is why Liu Bang would later say, "You and I are brothers." Xiang Yu actually compensated this brother during the distribution. He just didn't expect this brother's ambition to go beyond that. Layer 3. Carving up the 6 states. Designed chaos. Next came the rewards for the generals who put Xiang Yu on the hegemon's throne. Zhang Tu, a general of Yan, was enfeoffed as the new king of Yan. The original king of Yan was moved to be king of Liaodong. Tiandu, a general of Qi, was enfeoffed as the new king of Qi. The old Qi aristocrat Tian An was made king of Jibei, while the original king of Qi was moved to be king of Jiaodong. The originally powerful state of Zhao, second only to Chu, was split into 4 by Xiang Yu. The Zhao generals Zhang Er, Sima Ang, and Shen Yang, who had merit in following him into the pass, were enfeoffed as King of Changshan, King of Yin, and King of Henan, respectively. The original King of Zhao was demoted to King of Dai. Even Wei King Bao, who followed Xiang Yu into the pass, had no good end. His territory was reduced, and he was re-enfeoffed as King of West Wei. Han King Cheng, who had only one commandery, had nowhere to move and was barely allowed to stay. He stayed for 2 months before killed by Xiang Yu. Then there was the division of King of Chu's territory. Besides his own West Chu, Xiang Yu carved out 3 pieces of Chu and gave them to his fierce general Ying Bu, former Chu's general Gong Ao, and the Baiyue leader Wu Rui. Finally, the arrangement for Guanzhong. To prevent a powerful force like the Qin state from emerging in Guanzhong again, Xiang Yu split the Qin lands, excluding Han, into 3, and gave them to 3 surrendered Qin generals led by Zhang Han. This was truly killing the heart. Given their history of surrender, it was impossible for them to gain the heartfelt support of the Qin people in the short term, making rebellion a fantasy. This distribution was naked political spoils sharing. Xiang Yu knew very well that the old royal families with legitimacy by blood would not obey him. Only these new money figures, who rose through military merit, lacking legal foundation, would have to rely on Xiang Yu's authority to maintain their rule. Xiang Yu thought that by using this strong trunk, weak branches, and subjects replacing sovereigns distribution, he had successfully dismantled the old forces of the 6 states and replaced them with a batch of obedient proxies.
When we view this panorama from 206 BC with the eyes of posterity, what we are seeing here is an overlord attempting to use his personal prestige to forcibly reverse the inertia of history. At his core, Xiang Yu was a restorationist. He loathed the cold, efficient, centralized bureaucratic machine that the first emperor had created. He yearned for a bygone golden age of aristocratic honor, of feudal lords ruling their own autonomous lands. He believed that simply by restoring the feudal system, by giving everyone their own piece of territory, the world would magically return to that gentler, more cordial era before the collapse of rights and music. And while he may have flipped the table on the old aristocrats of the 6 kingdoms, he at least left them some scraps to eat. He wagered that the new nobles he had created, propped up by his authority, would obediently help him perpetuate this idyllic multi-state system forever. However, would the old nobles of the 6 states obey? Would King Huai of Chu obey?
A point must be made clear. None of Xiang Yu's enfeoffments were carried out in his name as overlord of West Chu. First, he honored the King of Chu as Emperor Yi, the righteous emperor, lifting Xiongxin onto the throne of the Son of Heaven, and then distributed the feudal lords in the capacity of the Son of Heaven's spokesperson. After arrangements were settled, in the spring of 206 BC, the coalition forces, flush with cash and full of pride, marched out of Hangu Pass to return east. They were going to seize their own land and titles from their former monarchs in accordance with the previous plan. This was the truth of Xiang Yu's returning home in glory. And here we find another piece of evidence supporting the sincerity of this agreement between Liu Bang and Xiang Yu. When Xiang Yu led the feudal lords east out of the Hangu Pass, Liu Bang also departed for his new fiefdom in Hanzhong. And the histories record that King Xiang sent 30,000 of his own Chu soldiers to accompany him, and tens of thousands more from the other lords' armies followed. Think about what this means. Not only did Xiang Yu not strip Liu Bang of his military command, he reinforced him with 30,000 of his own elite Chu troops. This wasn't an act of containment, this was an act of empowerment. He was strengthening Liu Bang's hand, ensuring he had the force necessary to keep the treacherous lords of the former Qin heartland in check. And it was amidst this chaotic transfer of power, in the great reshuffling of armies and loyalties, that an unremarkable, low-ranking attendant in the Chu army made a fateful choice. He chose Liu Bang. His name was Hanxin. However, this road to taking up their kingdoms was fast for some. For example, the new king of Qi, Tian Du, rushed back to the Qi capital Linzi in just 1 month, and then lost to Tian Rong, who refused to hand over Qi, in a battle for control. But Xiang Yu moved very slowly. It took him a full 3 months to travel the 1,000 kilometers from Xianyang to Pengcheng, averaging only 11 kilometers a day. So the question is, what was he doing? The complete answer has been erased by historical records, leaving only a truth we can piece together from scraps of information. He was fighting forces loyal to Emperor Yi, advancing step by step. The history books record absolutely nothing of the combat process between the two, but they left records of the negotiations. Upon leaving Xianyang, Xiang Yu sent envoys telling the king of Chu to move his capital and leave Pengcheng. A full 3 months later, Xiang Yu's army finally approached Pengcheng, and he sent people again to urge Emperor Yi to leave. This time, the two sides must have reached some agreement, and Emperor Yi took his loyal troops and left Pengcheng, heading south. Here, the history books write a thought-provoking phrase: expelled Emperor Yi from Pengcheng. In the context of ancient China, expel, Zhu, is full of implications of military action. This is corroborating evidence of Xiang Yu forcibly driving out Emperor Yi. Then, a secret order was given to Yingbu, Wurui, and Gong Ao to attack Xiongxin's army as it moved south, secretly ordered King of Zhujiangbu and others to strike him en route. When Emperor Yi led his direct lineage troops south from Pengcheng, he was backstabbed and attacked by the 4 rebel armies of Xiang Yu, Yingbu, Wurui, and Gong Ao. He fought and retreated from Huainan southward for about 2,000 kilometers, ultimately failing to shake off the pursuit. In October, when he fled south to Qian County, he was defeated and killed. From August to October, the two sides fought continuously for 2 months, with the pursuit covering over 2,000 kilometers. Emperor Yi was dead. When the news reached Pengcheng, Xiang Yu, who had already moved into the royal palace and was immersed in the joy of returning home in brocade robes, likely breathed a long sigh of relief. In his view, the final shackle had finally been shattered. Although the old Qi lands in the north were already a mess of fighting, he believed that as long as his spear pointed the way, everything would eventually quiet down.
Finally, let us answer one question. Why did Sima Qian lie? Or rather, why does his records of the Grand Historian not contain this version of the story that fits political logic better? Actually, the reason is clear. Because the historical materials Sima Qian accessed were records tampered with by the ultimate victors. Let us analyze what role Liu Bang played in this process. As a Chu general, he did not execute the king of Chu's political will, but colluded with Xiang Yu. As the king of Han enfeoffed at Xixia, he overturned this result and took back Guanzhong. As Xiang Yu's sworn brother, he used the excuse of avenging Emperor Yi to launch a surprise attack on Pengcheng while Xiang Yu was busy suppressing the rebellion in Qi. Every step of Liu Bang's decision-making was certainly a best choice full of strategic wisdom, but from a moral standpoint, it was inevitably full of flaws. And such flaws are not allowed to appear on the founder of a great dynasty. Therefore, the narrative of the Shiji is full of incredulity and unreasonableness, while the real truth has been left hidden between the lines that weren't completely deleted.